And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Gretchinz. Gretchinz is a game based on the Warhammer 40,000 universe where you have a bunch of these goblin dudes, green skin, I think they're goblins or orcs or whatever, and you're racing around in buggies as fast as you can, shooting at each other. So it's a speed kind of sort of programming kind of sort of goblin, I think, race. That's kind of all nebulous. Let me show you. Okay, so each player is going to take their little buggy and they're going to put it in front of a terrain card, and then you'll put one terrain card on the outside of the buggies. You can even get a second box if you want and then just switch the fronts of the cars, so then you can have 8 different colors. And then each player is going to take a goblin which has a special ability. You don't have to use the special ability, but you can. And then put your color here just to show what you are. And if you're playing with the dual color cards, you can flip it. See, now I'm using a red-yellow card. And each player is also going to take 3 dice here. And each round of the game, players are going to essentially be rolling these dice, and you can keep re-rolling them until one person shouts, "Wah!" At that point, everyone is stuck with the dice that they have, and you're just going to secretly, covering your hand, put them in order and do whatever the dice say on them. Players are also going to be having a handful of terrain cards. These are terrain cards that will be placed on the board, and these terrain cards on the other side of them are going to either show a hit or a mess up, and occasionally an explosion. Let's see if I can find an explosion, because there's very few of these cards, there we go, in the mix. But you don't know what it is because you can only see this side, the terrain side. So what do the different sides mean? Well, these are movement. This means swerve to the right, swerve to the left, So when that happens, you will move the appropriate direction, and then you'll draw cards from the deck, putting them in the 3 spaces directly in front of you after you move. The card that you land on, something good or bad might happen. So here I draw 4 cards without looking at them and add them to my hand. This one here, I lose a card. If I land on a space that just shows an arrow and nothing else on it, I can then move again if I happen to have another arrow. Certain things like this vortex here, it lets me steal a card from everybody else, and I even get to look at the card. Speaking of looking at cards, when you roll the Eye of Mork or Gork, other players, you'll ask another player, and they must truthfully tell you how many hit cards you have in your hand. So let's say this was my hand. They would say, you have 2 hit cards in your hand. Great. I don't know which ones they are, but I know I have 2. Yay. You also, if you roll this symbol, you get to activate your clan ability, so whatever it is. So for Evil Sons here, he can flip it to a movement of his choice, and each one has their own special ability that they can use. If you roll this, you draw 2 cards, and then finally you can attack someone else. When you attack someone else, or you can attack a piece of terrain, turning it into a big, giant crater if you want to. When you attack someone else, you'll pick 2 cards from your hand. If they're both hits, you've got them, and they're going to put a flame token in their buggy. You get 3 flame tokens in your buggy, and you're going to have to lose a turn, and you can take 2 out, but you always keep 1 in there. If you have a miss token, too bad, you've missed. Now you get the flame token in your buggy, and if you have the explosion, you lose your whole hand of cards. And that's it. You're going to put the box. The box here has the race finish line on it. You'll put it about 7 cards away, and so the first buggy that gets to the box is the winner. And that's pretty much it. There's a bunch of different cards that give special abilities and things as you go through them. Sometimes you'll find parts, sometimes you'll cool off through a lake and get rid of a fire token, not the kind of lake I would swim in. And then the back of these are just explosions, hits, and misses. That's pretty much the game. The dice are the best quality thing of this game. They're really good dice. They're easy to read. They're green, goblin type thing. And they're indented here, engraved dice, really good dice. These things are okay. They were kind of a pain to put together. Happily, when you store them in the box, you don't have to take them apart again, so that's good. These are okay. The artwork for the game is fine as you look at these guys. And the terrain cards look good, even if it is just a big bunch of desert. I mean, it looks very Mad Max-ish here as you look at these cards. And the other sides, the cards themselves are of decent quality. So you might be worried about speed in this game. I would not be worried about speed here because you can roll the dice as fast as you can, but I mean, you're looking maybe for certain combinations. If someone beats you, you still get to use the dice you have. Sure, you could roll and go, wah, as you're rolling, but if you do that, you're not going to roll well either, and people are probably going to want to stop playing with you. So there's that. There's the programming, but it's really not that, it's like, I'm going to go left. Then I'm going to draw cards. Then how many hit cards do I have? Next, I'm going to go right. Then I'm going to shoot at you. And then I'm going to ask you how many hit cards are in my hand. Yeah. Now, the revealing cards you hand, first of all, you got to really keep that in mind. Like, I can't look at the other side of my cards. There's a lot of games that do this nowadays, but that's something you have to constantly keep in your head. But when you pick 2 cards to play against someone else, it's really just a crapshoot. You really don't know what you're doing there. Sure. Okay, so let's say I have 4 cards in my hand, and I say, how many hit cards? And you say, you have 3. You've literally told me nothing except I have a better chance of drawing 2 and getting them right. Big deal. That still doesn't help me pick the right ones. Now, yes, when you take cards from other players or when you get cards, sometimes you can look at the cards and add those to your hand so you know one of the cards you're playing is a hit. Great. But it's not like you're really hurting other people. You might make them lose a turn. The whole game just feels too light and chaotic for me. You roll the dice, that's chaos. You move on the board, different things happen. Oh, well, either direction I go, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to lose some cards. And you're just kind of moving around and shooting at each other, and you can shoot at anyone on the board, and people can shoot at you for no reason, and then you might lose a turn, and you're just shooting back and forth, and eventually someone reaches the box. And when someone reaches the box, you look back at the game and you say, what did we do? And it's hard to remember because it's just a bunch of dice rolling, kind of programming, moving, and randomly shooting at each other and trying to hit each other. The shooting at each other seems like it should be more fun, and it's not. The idea of not knowing which cards your hand sounds like it should be an exercise in logic, and it's not. The whole thing feels like it should be like a rip-roaring blast, and it's not. It feels like a slower, it doesn't feel like a slog, because the game does end at a reasonable length time, but it feels like I've really kind of just watch the race rather than participate in it. Even the special abilities don't really do a lot. They might make me a slightly faster, or you can shoot more often. And the terrain, and I could blow up a terrain and there's a pothole in it, but that doesn't seem like it really affects you that much when you're driving by. Overall, this game was just a pile of random cards coming, a pile of random dice being rolled, a pile of random shooting for just a gigantic pile of randomness, and the game isn't fun enough for me to overcome that. Dice Tower Judgment, too random.